Hello, everyone who's meeting. If anyone wants to have conversations, please go outside. We want to make this a nice and swift meeting. Have one conversation going. Thank you so much. So it is 7:06, and we will start the community board meeting, Bronx Community Board. My name is Julie Reyes, chairperson of Community Board 8, Bronx Community Board 8. I'd like to introduce our Vice Chairperson Sergio Valverde, our Secretary Margaret Dell is on her way, our Treasurer Joy Campbell Privateer, our District Manager Sarah Kilgubin, and our Community Coordinator Artney Nazul. I'd like to thank Intech Academy 368 for hosting Community Board's 8 meeting this evening. And just for informational purposes, AGA members for the 2025-2026 fourth term are Sylvia Alexander, Lee Chong, Barbara Kale, Georgia Santiago, and Martin Wolpoff. Any board member marked absent, yet in attendance via Zoom, may be permitted to speak if called on, but does not have the privilege to vote should a vote take place. And a reminder to the board members during the course of the board meeting, kindly raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged by me. For the guests on Zoom, please note that only members of the public who have signed up to speak at the gallery session may address the board during the first portion of the board meeting. And before we start our meeting, I would like each board member and staff just give a brief introduction of themselves. I'll start with Vice Chair Sergio.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the board here. I'm Sergio Villaverde. I'm the vice chair of the board, and welcome everybody.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back, and welcome to our new members. I'm Joy Campbell Privateer, the treasurer of the Community Board 8.
Good evening, I'm Farah Kilrubin. I am the district manager, Bronx Community Board 8, and I basically work for all of you.
Good evening, everyone. Artie Malzio, Community Coordinator at Bronx Community Board 8. Welcome.
Jessica.
Just hold it. Turn on the mic. There you go.
Yeah.
It was off. Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Sosa.
What does that mean?
Oh, I live in the neighborhood and I love it here, so I'm very happy to serve. Thank you.
Nick Fazio, also live in the neighborhood, very happy to serve, happy to see everyone again after our summer break.
Steve Fruit, I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years, been on the board for about 15. Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to new members.
I'm Deb Travis. I'm the Parks Chair. I also live in the neighborhood, and I have a Parks group that takes care of the planting beds around the General Park Reservoir.
Good evening, everyone. Richard Perez, a new member. Just happy to serve and be a part of the team.
Althea Ebbo, new member. Good evening, everybody. Looking forward to serving on the community board. Lived in the neighborhood for a while.
Angel Ortega. Ed Green, Chair of Public Safety, and I've lived in the neighborhood since I was born.
Good evening and welcome all the new members. Laura Spalter, Vice Chair of Public Safety and Environment and Sanitation, and 36 years on the board.
Excuse me, I'm Bob Bender. I live in Riverdale. I chair the special committee on the Hudson River Greenway, and this is my 20th year on the board.
Marty Wolpoff, Chair of Law, Rules and Ethics, past chair of the board. I'm the second, at the moment, I am the most senior member of, most senior time served on the board. When Chuck gets here, I'll be the second.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rashida Hilliard, currently the chair of housing. Live and work in the neighborhood and was raised in the Bronx, but south up here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Levine Pinedo. I am a new board member and very excited to be part of Community Board 8.
Good evening, I'm Deborah Harris, new to the neighborhood and a new member of the board. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brittany Reynoso and I'm a new member as well.
I'm Daniel Rowan, Chair of the Environmental Sanitation Committee. This is my third year now. And, I didn't get it.
Hi, I'm Adiana. I think I'm going into my second year on the board and I've lived in the neighborhood my entire life, which is 30 years. Happy to serve and hi to the new members.
Howdy, everybody. My name is Cesar. This is also my second year. Lived in Kingsbridge my entire life, and I am the Vice Chair for Economic Development and Youth.
Hi, everyone. I'm Constance Barnes. I'm the Chair of the Economic Development Committee. I have not lived here all of my life, but I've lived here for a while.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jill Towns. I've lived here for 21 years in this neighborhood, and I've had a relationship with the development child. We developed a Julie, man. It's one of my proudest moments. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Good evening, my name is Carol Blake. This is my third year serving on the board. I've lived in this neighborhood over 40 years, and it's a pleasure to serve.
I'm Barbara Kale. I'm Chair of the Aging Committee. This is my third year on the board, and it's a pleasure.
Please. If we have any board members, can you please come up and join us? There are seats in front and there are seats on the side.
Hi, Julia Gomez. I'm doing the math, and math is hard. I think it's my 6th-ish year, so we're just gonna go with 6.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nicole Lewis. This is my first year on the board and I'm just excited to be here.
Thank you. We have chairs in front for the board members. It would be nice if we could see each other and have a conversation and don't make it difficult, especially when we're gonna do roll call and everything. I'd like to acknowledge Senator Gustavo Rivera in the audience, and you are in the agenda to speak later on. Hopefully you'll be able to stay. Okay, great. And
Good evening, everyone. My name is Debbie Allen. I'll say it again. Good evening, everyone. My name is Debbie Allen. I'm the Traffic and Transportation Chair, and I just want to welcome everyone, those online and here in the room, and those that are new committee members. And we're here to serve CB8, and we are happy to serve. Thank you.
thank you, Debbie. And we have an board members on. I see Sylvia and Lee. Sylvia.
I am Sylvia Alexander. I'm the chair of Education, Libraries, and Cultural Affairs Committee. And I have been on the board for 16 years, and I live in the neighborhood, and welcome to everyone.
Hi, I'm Lee Chung. I've been the chair of the Housing Committee. I am currently on the Aging Committee, the Land Use Committee, and I live in Spuyten Duyvil, and I can't remember how long I've been on the board.
Okay, thank everybody for taking the time out to introduce yourselves. I'll continue on with the agenda. Oh, just myself, I'm Julie Reyes, chairperson of the board. I've been on board for 26 years and served as few committee chairs. Thank you. Okay. Item 2, public gallery session. Members who have signed up to speak are allotted 3 minutes to address the board. No more than 5 speakers are allowed to address the board during the gallery session, and Community Board 8 conducts the gallery session first 30 minutes of the meeting. The presentations should cover only matters of general interest and not a personal matter. Board members may ask questions of the speaker, which The 3-minute time clock is stopped, so that the board members may not engage in discussions or statements during the time reserved for the gallery session. Anyone wishing to speak must call the board office in advance and speak with the staff to be put on the gallery list. Our first presenter is Jordan Moss. He will be speaking of a weekly Substack newsletter.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I'm Jordan Moss and I live in Kingsbridge Heights. I've lived there for 20 years and in Norwood for about 12 years before that. And I was the editor, as some of you know, of the Norwood News for 17 years. But that was a while ago, about 10 years ago when I left. And right now I'm the last year or so, I put out every week a free newsletter on Substack. It's called artallaroundus.substack.com. And it's a list and comments and photographs of art and art happenings of all kinds throughout the Bronx. It's artwork and dance and music and theater and everything else, and always interested in input from the public. Especially since I haven't covered everything yet. That's why I'm at this, to learn more about art going on throughout Bronx, and I look forward to covering KRVC's Gallery 505, which I have not, because we'll talk afterwards. But it's about, there's so much art throughout the entire Bronx. And there's not, the Riverdale Press has a good bit, but there's just a ton throughout the Bronx that I think most folks don't know about and should, for themselves, their kids, their family. If they're artists themselves, I put in news about that as well. So again, it's and I have cards that I'll leave for you. It's artallaroundus, one word, .substack.com. And I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Should I leave cards
Yes,
up
please.
front or with you or Hannah? Okay, great. We'll leave cards up front up there and it has okay, great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, we're going on to the report from the Brownsburg President's Office.
They're not on. No.
None? Okay, we'll move on to the 50th precinct.
Hey, how you doing? Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
It's Lieutenant Wolvers, 50 Precinct. How you guys doing today?
fine, thank you.
I hope you guys all had a good summer. I'm gonna run through the crime stats real quick for you guys for the 28-day period. Robbery, we had a pretty good summer. We did win most weeks, but for the previous 28-day period, which is ending on 9/7, which was this past Sunday, we lost robberies. We were up 33%. We had 8 versus 6. We were down on felony assaults, 13 versus 8, so down 27%. We were down in burglaries, 13 versus 19, which is down 31%. For grand larcenies, we were down 16%, 47 versus 56. We were up in GLAs. We had a tough couple of weeks with grand larceny autos where we were up 34-25, so we were up 36%, but an overall crime reduction of 5% for the 28-day period compared to last year.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Did you mention
Wait, I'm sorry, but at this portion of the meeting, the board members are able to interact, but please, if you can give us your question, we'll definitely relay it.
Mentioned the stats for Lincoln Farm, but I didn't get the stats on shooting.
Lieutenant, can you repeat the stats, please, regarding the shootings?
Let me find shootings on here. Shooting. We had 2 shootings for the 28-day period, 2 shooting victims. There was an incident at about 6:50 in the morning a couple of weeks ago after a car meet, border of 50, 52, and I don't have much information on what it involved or what it entailed, but and I don't think they identified anybody yet, but 2 people were shot. They're not likely.
Okay, thank you. And sir, the Public Safety Committee meets, when is your meeting, Ed?
Third Tuesday of every month.
The third Tuesday of every month at the 50th precinct,
16th.
the 16th, September 16th. So if you'd like, you're more than invited to the meeting. Thank you. Any other questions for the lieutenant? Thank you, Lieutenant. And then I just have
No
to
problem.
have to backtrack to the gallery session. Does Ramdat have a microphone? Okay, I'm going to have one more person in the gallery session, Ramdat Singh.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the community board and welcome to the new members. I just wanted to come by and say after 5-ish years, I had to depart the board. I recently took on a role as chief of staff for New York State Assembly member Emerita Torres in the South Bronx, representing Soundview, Hunts Point, Longwood, Classen Point, Harding Park. So I just wanted to come by and say thank you all so much for your support all these years. I've took on a lot of what I've learned from this board back to my job now, and that's how I'm pressuring a lot of the city agencies. But I just want to say thank you all so much. You all have aided in my growth and helped me obtain this new role as chief of staff. And if there's anything I can do to support, if there's any legislation, any budget things, I'll be fighting in Albany for Bronx resources and budget things. Please let me know. I'll leave my business cards at the front so you can have it as well. But I want to say thank you all so much and best of luck this year.
Thank you, Ramdat. Auspicious to you. Thank you so much, Ramdat. Okay, we're going to move on to the roll call. Our Secretary Margaret Della. Sylvia Alexander.
Sylvia?
Yes.
Stay here. Debbie Allen. Present. Constance Barnes Watson. Here. Bob Bender.
Here.
Carol Blake. Here. Joy Campbell, Puppeteer. Present. Sebastian Stigomopoli. Lee Chung. Here. Dr. Wayne DeBeetham.
Present.
Ingrid De Leon. Margaret Della present. Althea Bulk. Nicholas Fazio.
Present.
Miriam Filler. Stephen Fruit.
Present.
Dr. Gomez.
Here.
Edward Green.
Present.
Emily Houseman. Deborah Harris. Rashida Hilliard. Here. Barbara Kale. Here. Rabbi Kaplan. Laura Levine Pinedo. Here. Nicole Lewis. Here. Steve Matthews. Charles Nerdler. Daniel Nunez. Angel Ortega. Richard Perez.
Here.
Julie Reyes. Present. Brittany Reynoso. Present. Ariana Rivera. Here. Daniel Rowan. Georgia Santiago.
Absent.
Jessica Sosa.
Here.
Laura Spalter.
Here.
Cesar Tugueira Acosta.
Present.
Jill Towns. Deborah Travis.
Present.
Sergio Villaverde.
Present.
Karen Walker. Martin Wolpoff.
Here.
John Timothy Young. Yeah, we have quorum. Thank you, Margaret. Okay, so then we will move on to the board meeting minutes of June 25th, 2025. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Anybody want to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Peter, thank you. Anyone disapprove of the minutes? Abstain? All approved. Discussion of the executive committee meetings for June 3rd, last week. We'll be reviewing them in October, but they will be posted within the 10 days time. So the exec will have discussion in October. So now we'll go on to item number 8, chairperson's reports and resolution. First, I'd just like to thank all of the board and committee members, community committee members who attended the board's new member and the committee chair orientation that our district manager Farah Rubin and I hosted last month at the Bronxdale House. And a special thanks to our presenters, Laura Rules and Ethics Chairperson, and as Marty mentioned, past board chairperson, Marty Wolkoff. And thanks to Bronx Council for Environmental Quality, board member and member of our Environmental and Sanitation Committee, Karen Argenti. They both gave a very informative presentation and truly appreciate it. Thank you. And then, as always, I'd like to give thanks to our district manager, Farah Rubin, for carrying out our vision. Because we talk about what we want and try to set it up, and she really put it together. So we had a nice event, and also with the assistance of our community coordinator, Artie Malzoom. And just a reminder, there is a subcommittee that I mentioned last term that consists of our board vice chairperson, Sergio Villaverde, and board members, Karen Walker and Joe Towns, who are reviewing our board structure. If you have not been contacted yet, you should be contacted by a committee member at some point before December for feedback. Please do share any thoughts that you have in regards to our board structure. Things like, do we feel that certain committees should be combined, let go? Any thoughts that you have on the board structure, please be in contact with them. The goal of the committee is to make recommendations to the Law, Rule and Ethics Committee by December of this year. And then the Law, Rules and Ethics Committee will review and then bring forth their comments and or recommendations to the Executive Committee and then to the board, hopefully by January and February, for consideration and discussion. And then we'll move on to, if anyone has a suggestion, of the meetings in the confines of the district, we're to meet throughout the whole district. So if you have any place that you think we should look into, please contact Farah and they'll take a look and see if it meets the board's guidelines for meetings. Also, some of you may have noticed that the agenda order has been revamped. And I did that with consideration in order to give the committee chairs and members ample time to report. Because as many of you know, every meeting I'm saying we have to go. And I think it's a bit unfair that the committee chairs and the members do a lot of work throughout the year and they're being rushed. So I'm hoping that by switching it up just a little, or putting the committee reports on top, but still please be mindful of the time. We have 16 committees that are reporting, and if everyone takes 20 minutes, we're never gonna get out of here. So hopefully that'll work, and we'll see tonight. Okay, and then on behalf of the board, we wish to thank the 3 board members who have resigned for personal reasons, with just a short time on the board. Contributions of Johanna Edmondson and Kevin Wade are appreciated. And our 3rd member, youth chairperson Ramdas Singh, who spoke this evening, was a member for several years and also served the board in various positions. We wish them all well and thank them for their time and work performed while on the board. And that's my report. If anyone has any questions, please feel free. Okay, so we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Joy Campbell, Princeton.
Good evening, everyone. Please reference the draft budget. This is the treasurer's report, fiscal year 2026 for September. We're starting with a total budget of 282,534. For the new members of the personal services are salaries, basically, and the OTPS is what it takes to actually run the office. So that's generally the focus of the monthly reports, what we've spent and what we have left of OTPS. 1.1, section 1.1, we now have a budget of 22,484. Nothing has been allocated because it's the start of the year. 1.2 references budget modifications. That's how we add money to OTPS as the need arises. 1.3 purchase order and accounts payable. We have no funds requested, no funds encumbered. Again, it's because it's the beginning of the year. And finally, 1.4 rent and energy detail. Now this, the lease, the heat, the light and power bill, that's separate. That doesn't come out of the budget. So it's not a factor in modifications or what we have allocated for our funds to actually run the office. And that is the treasurer's report for September.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Okay, so then I'm just gonna backtrack and go to item number 3, report from the Bronx Borough President's Office. We have Alexis.
Hold on.
Hello?
Ah, hold on.
Go ahead, Alexis. From Bronx
Hold on.
Borough.
Wait.
She's not on anymore.
Okay, we'll get her when she pops back on. And while we're waiting, I just want to acknowledge Senator Jackson, who will also be speaking when the elected officials are called upon.
That's the other one.
So Alexis, thank you. Oh, sorry, I was told that the president's office is on Zoom. Sorry about that. So we'll continue on with our report. The district manager's report, Farrakil Rubin.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome our new members, and I'm excited to work with all of you this year. And I hope you all had an enjoyable summer. We did have a very busy summer. We worked on our calendar. We did a lot of events. We had to reorganize and get everything for the new term and also organize all the meeting spaces for the year. I want to thank Marty for meeting me and taking the time to work on the calendar. It's always tricky to work on, so thank you. We did table at many events. We had National Night Out, Marble Hill Night Your Family Day, New York City Parks Movies Under the Stars at Bailey Playground. And we just did a back to school event with Theory 9. And we have another back to school event coming up here in Intech on September 19th. If anyone would like to volunteer for that, just reach out to the office. I also want to thank the Yankees and Senator Rivera for supplying us with book bags for back to school events. It's greatly needed, and thank you so much. We also have a few more events coming up in the near future. Boo Bash on October 25th with KRBC. And we always do, and hoping to do, our Thanksgiving turkey giveaway in November. We have also been working on lots of constituent service cases over the summer, and we appreciate the partnership and communication we have with our elected officials and city agencies that work with us on these. I recently did a walkthrough with our chair, Debbie Allen of Traffic and Transportation, with Laura Spalter as a community member, and Assemblymember Dinowitz and Councilmember Dinowitz and DOT and City Bike reps to make recommendations on the 22 new City Bike stations that they proposed in our area. I just attended a press conference for New York City Mayor Eric Adams, along with the Chancellor of Schools, T-Mobile, Dell, and New York Yankees All-Star second baseman, Jazz Chisholm. That was exciting. They announced that they are giving 350,000 new Chromebooks to 1,700 schools to help bridge the digital divide. I held my first district service cabinet meeting this month, and my next meeting will be on October 7th. We are working on our newsletter, summer into fall, so we will release that at the end of the month. There are 2 new initiatives I am working on this year. I did reach out to our chairs for their ideas to have a community planning fellowship they come for the next 8 months. We have a lot of great ideas. We can only submit 2, so we're gonna work on finalizing the 2 that we will submit this year. Just keep in mind, we can also do this again next year. Also applying a local government records management improvement fund grant to help our office with our retention of our records, converting them all digitally, and hopefully getting rid of a lot of paper that we don't need anymore. And I want to thank Bob Bender for accepting my suggestion that he helped me with this process. So thank you. And that's it for me. But please let me know if you have any questions. Yes, Daniel. Yes.
There's one behind you.
Did you have that statistic of like the actual percentage of parking spots lost? You said it was like 11% at the meeting. Something with the city bike where it was like people imagined it was higher, and then the true number was they think they actually like had that. So,
yeah, that was a survey done for a different district that did one of these fellowship grants, and that's what they did research on. How many parking spots they actually lost with the city bike program and the Dining Out NYC program. So that's a different district, so it doesn't mean it's the same percentage for our district. We didn't do a study on that yet, but that is one idea. We can ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. Okay, so the next item is the election of the youth committee chairperson. Do we have any nominations from the floor? Constance? Yep. Use the mic, please.
It's on. It's on.
The youth committee is vacant due to Ramadan meetings.
I'd like to nominate Cesar Tovar Acosta for chair of the youth committee.
Cesar, do you accept?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
Move to close nomination.
Second. Thank you. Okay, we'll close the nominations. So Cesar, I want to congratulate you. You'll be ready with your report this evening. Congratulations, Cesar. So now we're going to go on to committee reports and resolutions. We'll start off with the special committee on veterans services, or Sergio Bellaverde.
Thank you very much. We are planning for our event for the first Sunday. That's the Memorial Grove event that we have every year. It's become one of the premier veterans events for November 2nd. In Bacon Park Memorial Grove. We are gonna see the date for a meeting and something like that, but we just received word from BCPA that that's the date that they've set aside, and they're apparently good with that. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Everyone's invited to attend. Does anyone have any questions for Sergio? Okay, so the next committee is Special Committee on Racial Equity. Margaret.
Hi, good evening. Our next meeting is actually on Thursday at 7 p.m. at the office. It's also hybrid if you're not a committee member. Some of the things we'll be discussing are reviewing the interim report, if there's any additions, subtractions, or just to be sure that new members of the committee have been able to review that. It basically outlines what standing committees have worked on over the course of the year in the previous year. It also updates the budget priorities where we have requested funding or requested resources in the district. And that's detailed from, I think, fiscal year 16 to the most current year that we concluded. And we'll also be discussing the Bronx corridor. There's a number of safety, transportation, health, you name it, situations going on at a minimum at an acute level between 238 and 225th. And so we'd like to talk about what's the most strategic and advantageous way for the community to be involved, for standing committees to be involved, to address some of these quality of life and more egregious concerns. So that's Thursday, 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Any questions? Okay, Special Committee on Hudson River Greenway, Bob Bendick.
Excuse me, there was, we didn't meet over the summer, of course, but there was one important development over the summer, which is that the City of New York, the DOT and the Parks Department jointly issued a new greenways map called Greater Greenways. The last greenways map that the city issued was in 1993, so more than 30 years ago. The Hudson River Greenway on the new Greater Greenways map is marked as planned but unbuilt, which is exactly where it was in 1993. So we are going to be working very hard in getting beyond planned but unbuilt. And in that regard, I want to thank Senator Rivera and 3 of our other local elected officials, Assemblyman Dinowitz, Councilman Dinowitz, and Congressman Torres, who have, in response to the Greenways map that was issued, have contacted the commissioners of DOT and of the Parks Department and asked one of those agencies, or for them jointly if they decide, to take sponsorship of the Hudson River Greenway to move it forward toward becoming a reality. And we will follow up on that in meetings over the course of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. So we go on to the Youth Committee, Cesar.
Hi. Yeah, I'm back. Well, the youth committee is going to be meeting next Monday, September 15th at 6:30 at the main office, and very grateful to have a lot of new folks on the committee.
Thank you. Traffic and Transportation. Debbie?
Do you guys have a mic for Debbie?
Can someone pass Debbie the mic in the back, please?
Daniel?
Good evening. Traffic and Transportation will have their first meeting on September 25th. This evening, we don't have any resolutions, but we are still working closely with DOT on several projects and also City Bike. And I am very hopeful that DOT and City Bike will work with us at CB8 and we'll come with some type of meeting in the middle in terms of parking and transportation issues. We also, on our September 25th meeting, we're having a safety meeting with DDC around the school areas and just, safety areas in terms of for the children in 2 of our local schools. And I just want to thank the members that were on the committee last year, and we're just hopeful that we'll be able to move forward this year with our resolutions and agenda. Thank you.
I have a quick question for Debbie. When we do meet with the DOT and City Bikes, it would also be, I think, productive to see if they do any review of the usage of the city bikes, since they do take up so much space. And they just seem to be infinite projects that just stay there. And if they're not being used, how do they review that, and does that get revisited? That's just a question I'm suggesting.
We have requested data in certain areas of City Bike throughout Riverdale. And they haven't specifically given me the data. What they have responded to me is to go look on their website to see the usage. Assembly Dinowitz and Councilman Dinowitz have also requested data from them directly, and they weren't exactly forthcoming with them either, to be honest with you. And so, you know, we're working closely with them so we can just find out how effective is City Bike and how is it really working. We're not Manhattan. It's a different type of demographics in terms of age group, in terms of youth, in terms of transportation. There are areas in the Bronx where there is an actual transportation desert. And I do agree that that does exist. But I think that there's something that we can meet in the middle in terms of listening to the community and finding spots where it will be an effective use of time and space and resources.
Thank you. Public safety?
Good evening, everybody. So our Public Safety Committee meeting is gonna meet Tuesday, September 16th. For those who don't know, it's the third Tuesday of every month. This is gonna be probably the only time we don't have any resolutions in the next 10 months is tonight, but we have our NYPD report, our FDNY report. We're gonna have 14 SLA applications, many which are holdovers from the summertime because we didn't meet in the last couple of months. We have one Office of Cannabis Management application, and we plan to discuss the Broadway corridor and strategizing on effective means to improve safety, transportation, quality of life issues that I'm sure some of the other committees are going to be in on as well. So that's what we have, and I'm very glad to have some new members and some old members back on this committee. And thank you.
Any questions? Say something. Okay, Parks and Recreation, Travis.
Good evening, everyone. The next Parks Committee meeting is Monday, September 29th. It's not on our normal evening because of holidays and just moving around schedules. We'll be having a presentation from the Parks Department on the Fort Independence Playground a reconstruction that will be happening. I believe it's the very first kind of the conceptual design of for the playground. There will also be the North Riverdale Baseball and Softball League are presenting on their request to have lights added to the Little League baseball field there in O'Garden ball field over off of Marshall. And we'll also start to discuss fiscal year 28. And I want to just give a big thank you and shout out to Cesar and Farah and Artie for all your support at the Bailey Playground Movies Under the Stars. It was really fun. And it was really great to just bring more awareness to Bailey and get a bunch of folks out to have fun and watch a dog-based movie. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, law rules and ethics, Marty.
There's no report this tonight. We plan to have next month bylaws, a resolution for a bylaws change, and perhaps the month after that as well. So look forward, be prepared, it's coming.
Thank you, Marty. Was Chuck alive?
Oh, yeah.
They were gonna skip Ryan, as Chuck mentioned. He was running late. We'll let him relax then. Housing, Rashida?
Good evening, everyone. Rashida Hilliard, Chair of Housing. First of all, thank you to our former committee members. Thank you, Lee, for serving as Vice Chair. And I know Sebastian's not here, but I would like to thank him for being on the board. as I mentioned at the exec meeting, he helped us to reach quorum. So I'm grateful for that. I would like to also welcome Jessica back, and she's also going to be the vice chair. So thank you for that. In terms of our meeting, we normally meet on the fourth Thursday of every month. But as mentioned before, due to holidays, we will be meeting on Thursday, September 18th at 6:30 at the office. And since this is my second year now, I'll just say we will use, this is my second time now, so I'll just say this. We plan to use the first meeting to plan out the year. So our September meeting will be a planning meeting, and then if you want to look ahead, we plan to meet with economic development for October. And then November, we'll possibly have a guest speaker from HPD or HUD, TBD. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashida.
You're welcome.
Just want to acknowledge Senator and Assembly Members Jones, who will be speaking in a few minutes. Councilmember and Assembly Member Sidowitz. Okay, Health and Hospital, Dr. Tabi. Yes. We're going to Health Hospitals and
Hello.
Social Service, Dr. Tabi.
Good evening, everyone. I am Wayne DeBeetham. I am the new chair of Health Hospitals and Social Services, and we have a meeting tomorrow, 7 p.m. So be there. It will be at the community board headquarters. As with many, I think one of the goals for this meeting will be actually going over some of our goals and vision for this area. And we also have, I think, a SAPO application for the James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center. They're having a rally, which will be on September 13th. It's an outdoor rally, and they have a community garden as well. And so that's something to put on your agenda. And most importantly, I'd like to thank Rabbi Kaplan for his leadership of this committee. I don't see him here yet, but I would definitely like to thank him for his leadership. And again, looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow.
No.
Thank you, Dr. Environment and Sanitation, Daniel.
Yes, hi. Our next meeting, as is usual, this month only anyway, is third Wednesday each month, so it's Wednesday the 17th next week. We're also going to talk about the Broadway corridor, as everybody should, and the reservoir and river feasibility studies and better bottle bills that I hope get reintroduced. Yeah, exactly. So we'll talk about how to say it better, and also where you want trash cans. So think about it. It has to be somewhat commercial. And then there'll be a link and we'll talk about that. And also how to report really bad sidewalk conditions.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, Daniel. Education and Libraries and Cultural Affairs, Sylvia.
Hi, good evening. I have 3 new members of the committee this year, and I'm looking forward to working with them. I am going to send out the agenda tomorrow, and it's a little bit lengthy, and I just want to mention one thing which has happened. I know that Councilman Eric Dinowitz is not here. However, the
He's
speaker
on,
of
he's here.
the, what?
He's here.
Oh, he's here, great. Then I can thank him personally that the Kingsbridge Library is now open on Sundays, which is very exciting. We've never had that before. And the Speaker of the Council had put that into her budget. And I know that Eric has kind of pushed that through. and successfully, and we have that in our community. The libraries are very important to our residents and children, and for many reasons. So our next meeting is on the 30th of September, and I hope to see you then.
Thank you, Sylvia. Next, economic development, Constance Wells.
Hi, everyone. Constance Barnes, Chair of Economic Development. We met on Tuesday, September 2nd at the board office. We had two presentations, one from the Department of Sanitation about commercial waste zones, and Farah has the PowerPoints if you are interested. We also had a guest from the Riverdale Farmers Market to talk about the lack of traffic attendance at the Riverdale Farmers Market. And I think for me, what was really interesting, we had a community member from Knowles Crescent come over, and she was very concerned about the vacancies that are there. Chase Bank is gone, Rite Aid is gone, a lot of the businesses there are gone, so it's becoming a desert almost. The rents we've heard are very high, and so they are just very concerned about what's happening there. The committee brought forth a lot of ideas, and we hope to work with them and our councilman to address some of those issues. And the last thing on our agenda is corridor walks. And I think after listening, we may rethink how we do our corridor walk. We usually go visit the businesses with SBS, and we offer help if they need any assistance and let them know that we are here at the community board. And next meeting, TBD, possibly with housing.
Thank you, Constance. Questions, comments? Okay, so then we'll move on to budget.
Hi, I'm Margaret. I'm the vice chair for budget. Sebastian unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. He did want me to pass along that there will be a public hearing on fiscal year 27 at 6:30 p.m. before the next full board meeting, which is on October 30th. He also requested that each committee keep budget priorities as a standing agenda item. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Okay, committee aging, Barbara?
Hi, we are going to be meeting September 11th. The first meeting will be for planning and to discuss two pieces of work, if you will, two projects that I'd like to see one go on. One is a senior resource manual and updating it. We're starting to work on that. The second is to invite the chair of the aging committees from the assembly and the council to talk about upcoming legislation so that we can craft resolutions to bring forth legislation that would help our constituency. And everybody's invited to come.
Thank you. And our last committee, Chuck Landers. The mic right next to you. Thank you.
Good evening. Apologize for being a little late. I had to go to another event. I'd like to talk to you about something that's very unusual and incredibly timely. This board, through particularly Margaret Dunn, pointed out to us a condition in connection with a prospective applicant in this community. The unusual part is that if we had a thing called a Good Neighbor Award, or an entity that deserves real applause and thanks, it is the applicant Raising Cane. We asked them to do the impossible, to in a period of days clean up the area in and around the Riverdale Diner, where cars and wrecks and garbage were strewn all over the place. Not only did they do it, they did it superbly, quickly, quietly, and without disrupting anyone or anything. And if I could ever publicly thank an entity for having responded to the desires of will of the community and have demonstrated that they are good neighbors, I wish good luck to and good fortune to Raising Cane. I endorse their efforts, and I hope each and every one of you enjoys their food and their patronage for years to come. They are that deserving. The resolution thus we propose is an approval of an application that they have before the Board of Standards and Appeals. Copy of that resolution is before each of you. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, I would personally appreciate it if we had a unanimous vote in favor of their application so that we can make clear to the BSA, these are truly good neighbors. And you've never heard that from me. I move the resolution.
Just wanted to ask, they're open 9:30 to 3:30 a.m. every day?
I'm sorry?
I just wondered about the time. They're open 9:30 to 3:30 every day?
Yes. This is a reason. This is what they are trying to do here is to maintain the opportunity and lay out for you what they would love to do. If they find they cannot do it, they will cut back. Bear in mind their proximity to the highway exit and a bunch of other things. Hopefully, they will also help to upgrade this neighborhood and make it even better for themselves. Please.
I also had a concern, and we were told that they will hire security. And that, as Chuck said, they may not be open as late, but they're appealing to all overnights and night people who work and things like that, but they're going to have security.
Do we, given the location, did we recall what the hours of Riverdale Diner were in the first place?
They in their better days, they were up pretty late, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But those were days long gone, and only you and I can remember that.
Into McDonald's, just 24 hours, and Wendy's, which goes from, I think, 7 until 2 a.m. So it's not totally outside of just food. Not sure. That's it.
I move the resolution, Madam Chair.
Objections? We'll take a vote. Anyone disapprove? If you could raise your hands.
Any, Lee Chong? Lee Chong's hand is up.
I second.
I know, Lee, this is to.
I approve. I approve the resolution.
Oh, then put your hand down. Sorry. This is if you wanted to disapprove. We have Adriana, Laura, and Cesar, Laura Pineda. So that's 3. And then 2 and 8.
Any abstentions? So all else approved. Okay, Sylvia? And Lee, do you approve?
Yes.
Sylvia?
Yes.
Thank you.
The second resolution relates to premises located at 5832 Broadway. It's an area adjacent to and involves a gas station. This is an application to renew an old BSA application and to legalize the installation of a retaining wall at the rear of a repair shop located at 5832 Broadway. There are a bunch of things that they are trying to do to advance the benefits of the community, to the community and to themselves, making this a fitter place. Gas stations are not the most attractive things in the world, and they're trying to do what they can. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
We're on Broadway, this is just,
Can you use the microphone, please, because people on Zoom? Thank you.
Just a point of information, the location, is this just south of Van Cortlandt Park?
Yes.
Thank you.
I just had a technical question because it's listed as a mobile station, but the pictures are a dump station. So I didn't know what it will be.
Is the applicant here?
Yeah.
Is this mobile or?
Sir, can you come up close, please? Microphone, thank you.
Hello. So it's gonna be a Gulf station. So actually the signage is depend on the branding. So the owner had mobile. So he shifted to Gulf because he was getting, less prices.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Can I move it? I move it. It's committee.
Okay, so let's vote. Anyone disapprove? Abstain? So unanimous.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we met earlier this week, if my memory serves me correctly, it's certainly last week, if the days go by. There is an issue that will be coming up before the committee at its next meeting. And it's an issue you'll hear about in a few moments from our distinguished council member and the exceptional assembly person for this district. And that is a charter motion, recommendation from the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission to abolish any effort by you, me, and them to try and make this city a better place than it has been for the past 4 years. It would seek to do that by abolishing the input of our elected representatives on important land use decisions. It seeks to do that by abolishing your right as a community board member, your right as a resident of this community to have input on what is there. And by failing to understand that what is affordable on the east side of Manhattan is not affordable in the South Bronx. And their definition of affordable housing is none. It is one that allows people to build luxury houses, call them affordable, rent 2 or 3 apartments to somebody who says they need affordable housing, and then get the benefits of leaking it from the taxpayer. It is, in short, an attempt to enrich those who already are rich at the expense of those who are not. And that is not coming from somebody to the left, but somebody from the right. So let me be very clear. As a Republican, I strongly urge you to vote no on this resolution. It stinks. Thank you, Madam.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Joint meeting.
I don't think there was voting on this.
It was mentioned the bones. Oh, there's one more thing. May I be rude, Julie?
Before, because you said for us to vote on it. This is on the charter revision. My understanding is that we get the information, we do not vote as a board members. Is that correct?
You will have a report from the two of them shortly. And then there's a joint committee meeting of land use and LRE on the subject on the 30th of September. And at that point, we will give the full board a report on where they comes from. I admit to being a partisan on this issue, and I apologize for that. But I don't apologize for speaking my mind truthfully.
Fine, my question, please correct me, if it's on the ballot and if it's, we cannot take a decision on it as board. correct?
I'm going to answer your question. We are not going to vote as a board. We received an opinion dated some years ago by the then Corporation Council saying that board members can act as individuals, but they cannot act as the board. However, the same Corporation Council can go out and campaign for anyone he wants to while he serves as Corporation Council.
Okay, but I just want to clarify this. If you said we're gonna vote, we are not gonna vote on the charter as a board.
No, you can't.
I just want to
Let me say this, their position is that the board as a board cannot. I think their argument is significantly stated by the fact they don't cite a single authority for their position other than it was the word of a former Corporation Council since gone.
Okay, so you had it. Is that what your report's, Chuck?
That's it. Oh, Mario reminds me about them bones. The Kingsbridge Historical Society has requested to interface with the owners of property in connection with a set of premises that are, I don't even remember the address. Back of the post office. Yeah. In back of the post office where there is proposed to be erected a structure. And they are doing it at an early date before any other physical work has gone into it. They maintain that there may be and that there are some specific ancient documents which indicate that it was the site of an indigenous cemetery and that there are bones there. If indeed there are, then arrangements will, by law, have to be made for the decent and appropriate removal of those bones and their reinterment in an appropriate place. They're doing it before the work has started, so in an effort to try and avoid the additional costs that would be entailed in doing it after it's started. If bones are found and they're in the middle of the job, they got to freeze it by state law. So doing it at this stage is a plus. And that's where we are on that. And I thank you, Marty.
Just for clarification, the post office we're referring to is the Kingsbridge Post Office. The location is at 230th Street and Broadway. And we do know from some previous work that was done at that site that there was indeed a Native American village in that area. Artifacts have been found, not on this specific site, but in the immediate site around it. This is not just pure speculation. There actually is reason to believe that there could be artifacts on that site that's under development.
Also, what you could say that the land use meeting and his presentation was given, you could go onto the website and look at the land use meeting for the information.
There are relatively contemporaneous documents that were produced for us by Nick Dembowski of the Historical Society that they have put together to make their case. And it's a very persuasive case. Question is, are those bones still there?
Thank you, Chuck. And for the new members, when Marty mentioned that he was the second long-term member, I don't want to say all this. And so Chuck arrived. Chuck is actually the longest serving board member and the first board member for the
First chairman of the board.
Yes, okay. Because we did introductions earlier, so we just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you, Chuck.
But I wasn't there when the indigenous. That new farmer.
Do we know if this project involves the post office in any way? Because it listed the post office's address as well as behind. I guess because it's meaning like that lot that's like all behind it, but it's like the post office is okay.
I don't think so. Nobody's gonna know. They have very sophisticated equipment nowadays that can really get.
I don't mean that. I mean as far as the development, like it is not encroaching on or taking over any part of the post office.
No, the developer's not doing that. No.
But nobody knows
We
what.
haven't seen plans yet. We haven't seen an application. But what I have heard in terms of people telling me from relatively reliable grapevine, that's not the.
If it gets knocked down, you'll notice no change in service.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're gonna move on and go to the council members' report. We'll start with Council Member Eric Dinowitz. Presentation. Okay, so then we'll move on with Council Member Diana Hannah Sanchez. I believe she's on Zoom.
Hey everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. It's good to see everyone. Happy new school year. So a couple of updates from me. Thank you to Community Board 8 for tabling at the Back to School Fair that Theory 9 held on Webb Avenue last week. That was a beautiful turnout. There were hundreds of people there. There were backpacks, bouncy houses. It was the kind of event that I certainly want to see more of and help to have more of in the district. We also had our block party a couple of weeks ago, actually a month ago today. We had over 1,200 attendees at our block party, which was in front of our office, and just very thankful for the community's participation there. That was a lot of fun too. I also want to highlight that our office, as always, has third-party services, including free legal services, housing attorneys, immigration attorneys. So if you folks are hearing anything from the community, please send them our way. Right now, we're very popular because we're giving out health bucks. We have a waiting list, we have a sign-up list. So send folks our way that you think would want to benefit from that. And I will flag that we have our fall festival at St. James Park on October 11th. So that should be lots of fun. On the legislative front, I am proud that we passed a package of legislation last month related to the fatality we had in the daycare 2 years ago now. Nicholas Felice Dominici was exposed to fentanyl. And so we passed two bills and one resolution to increase parents access to information about their rights within daycares. For example, to know that they have the right to go into their daycare and inspect at any time. These parents were told that they could not enter, for instance. And also we're increasing training requirements for inspectors. In this month, we'll be hearing two of my bills, or the council will be hearing two of my bills. One is Intro 428, which is requiring workers' rights be posted at construction sites to limit wage theft, and Intro 434, which is related to Legionella outbreaks. Right now, we don't have any inspection requirements, or whether it's self-report or professionals going in. No one is inspecting water towers, which, as you all may have seen in the news in the past couple weeks, tragically has again resulted in deaths in Harlem, and over the years has really been an issue in Harlem and in the Bronx. This month, as Chair of Housing and Buildings, I'm going to be having a joint hearing with Civil Service and Labor that's on worker safety and the effects of climate change on labor and the labor market. So I invite you to join that September 29th at 10 a.m. And we're also now, I don't think this has been posted yet, but the Kingsbridge Armory City Council hearing is going to be happening at the end of October, September 29th. So it's going to be a very busy month. And I, of course, invite you all to come in and comment on the proposed development there, as well as the program and everything else that the development team has made public. And lastly, on the legislative front, we continue to move forward, barrel forward, and hopefully finish by the end of the session reforms to the third-party transfer program to make it a program that allows the city to use municipal foreclosure to take away buildings from the absolute worst landlords. It's a 70-page piece of legislation, and it's extremely complicated, but the intents are clear, and we'll be having stakeholder convenings around that reform bill. So if you're interested in that, if the board wants to have a representative join, you are more than welcome to. That's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks when we get the bill text, updated bill text. And finally, we're continuing to try to move forward the street vending legislation, Intro 431, which would reform the street vending system. Right, tomorrow we're gonna be, hopefully, knock on wood, overriding the mayor's veto on Intro 47, which is around well, it's not my bill, but it's around decriminalizing street vending, certain street vending offenses, right, which are criminal, moving them to be civil violations. And then Intro 431 is my bill to increase the number of licenses at the same time as we are making enforcement more realistic. So I said a lot, but I will close with this because we talked about it, the chair and I talked about it at the Theory 9 back to school event, which is Bailey Playground. I am putting this on the table with you all. I really, really hope that it's on my priority list to get Bailey Playground funded this year in partnership with Councilmember Dinowitz. He's been a great champion for this. And so we've been trying to get this thing funded, right? The redoing the playground funded for a couple of years. But I'm really hopeful that we're going to be able to do it this year, and that's going to require us really working together. So I want to strategize together, right? We're writing letters, doing press conferences in conjunction with the board, but also groups like Washington's Walk, Theory 9, the Friends of Bailey Playground. We have a lot to work with. And so I think if we're really active and vocal, we'll be able to do it this year. And I look forward to your partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. We look forward to it as well. And I'm sure our Parks Committee Chair is definitely gung-ho with everything, and we have a lot of elected officials this evening that some have already advised us that they will support us in our aim for Bailey Park. So I appreciate it. And thanks for stopping by the table with that conversation. Okay, Chuck?
Madam Councilman, one of the very few advantages of advancing age is that one has experienced or learned or seen things over a period of time. You quite properly addressed the issue of the towers, water towers. You should know this is not the first time we've had this tango. In 1966, as Commissioner of Buildings of the City of New York, we had the beginning of these kind of things. And at that point, we deployed a team of men and women to go into the tower to try and find those instances where this happens. At the time then, and at the present time, the inspectional duties of the City of New York in this example and in others are fractionated as between the health department, in this case, and the building department. For the last 50 years, some of us have been saying the only way you will get good, clean building inspections, the only way you'll get clean inspections of towers and a whole bunch of other things, if we have a Department of Code Enforcement in the City of New York, a unified, singular one. The lobbyists don't want it. Why? Those landlords who have relationships with existing inspectors who are stationed in a given area for a given period of time, normally their lifetimes, they have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. That's not in your interest. That's not in your constituents' interest. It's not in the city's interest. All I'm saying to you, I would strongly urge you, as I know the council member from this district has made the point in the past. We need a Department of Code Enforcement, the building department's authority expanded to cover all of that kind of stuff. I will tell you, as building commissioner, I had jurisdiction over all housing enforcement. It wasn't enough. We weren't able to do it. You need to have one agency with the inspector going into the building and seeing everything, not just a little piece of the pie. And I urge you strongly to focus on this next.
Absolutely. Thank you. I always love to hear from you, Mr. Murder. Absolutely. I don't know if maybe we were in the same room or I've heard you champion this before, but that is certainly something that is on my radar. I don't know if I have the first in time status or somebody else does, but it's, not even within housing can you, do you have enough jurisdiction within H&B, within HPD, because some issues are in buildings, some issues are in housing preservation development, other issues are in FDNY, and as you even mentioned, some issues are in DOHMH. So I hear you, and I really love that idea.
Thank you.
It is a charter issue though, so it might have to be, unless Mr. Murdler, if it is something that we can do legislatively or if it requires to be contemplated within a charter revision commission.
Hi, this is Dr. DeBeetham. So I have a concern because as you were mentioning Legionella, my memory jogged and I realized that history has repeated itself because 10 years ago, there was an outbreak that involved Lincoln Hospital in the South Bronx where I was trained. And in fact, Legionnaire's disease comes from the fact that the very first exposure of this bacteria happened in a air conditioning unit at a Veterans of Foreign Wars event. So my concern though is that given the preponderance of water towers, which is a very unique New York thing, and the fact that this keeps happening, why there isn't something more solid, and why there is this kind of mismatch of jurisdiction, because in the case of Lincoln, it was a cooling tower. In other cases, it's air conditioning. In other cases, it's water towers. These devices are common, and it shouldn't fall through the cracks that one agency misses something because it's a hospital, another agency gets it because it's a hotel. I think we should have some sort of unified standard, and this shouldn't happen every 10 years. It shouldn't happen at all, quite frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. So the hearing on this is going to be on September 19th at 10 a.m. That's a Friday within the Health Committee. I'm going to be there to hear, feedback on my bill, right, which treats it as a building issues, gives the building department jurisdiction to oversee licensed master plumbers inspecting, right? So buildings would be required to, on a cyclical basis, inspect these devices. As you mentioned, it could be a water cooler, a water tower, a cooling tower, or an air conditioner, right? So the buildings would become responsible to inspect on a cyclical basis with the employ of a licensed master plumber, who would then file these inspections or the inspection results with the Department of Buildings, right? So the Department of Buildings would have a log of who has submitted, who hasn't submitted, would have the findings been, and sort of go from there. But this is sort of the starting gambit. I don't know if the cycle that we're proposing is not often enough, too often. I'm not sure if we're naming all of the different. I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not a health professional. I'm not sure if we're naming all of the different places that should be considered. And so your comments now are exactly the kind of feedback that would be helpful to honing in this piece of legislation to try to be as effective as possible at making sure what happened in 2015, what is happening this summer, never happens again.
Thank you, Councilmember Sanchez. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next council. Is it anyone from Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa's office online?
Nope.
Okay, so then we'll go on to the report from the mayor's office. Elena Dow.
Come over here. Hi, good evening, everyone. So nice to see you all. I hope you enjoyed your summer, and very nice to meet all of the new board members. I want to say congratulations to you all. My name is Alina Dow. I am the Bronx Borough Director for the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs. And just so you know, that just means that I am the conduit between the mayor himself and all of his city agencies. So as you have the committees, they are discussing many of the issues that are coming out of our city agencies, and I work really hard to make sure that they are addressed if the committee is not able to get them addressed. So I just wanted to take the time to really introduce myself. We have had a robust summer, I'd like to say. The mayor has made many, many announcements. And because there are so many, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send like a whole list over to Farah, and then she can email you guys, just so you can stay up to date with some of the stuff that's been going on. In addition to that, I do want to make sure that I reach out and say to all of the committee members that if there are some pressing issues that have not been addressed, please, if you email me or if you send them to Farah, what I do is I work with Farah and I work with all of you guys just to get those issues addressed. And sometimes I probably have a little bit of way to get it expedited, so at least I can get you an answer. So I just wanted to just say that. My phone number is area code 914-446-8393, and my email is A for Alina, DOWE@cityhall.nyc.gov. So I just encourage you that when you are sending messages to the city agencies, to also CC me so that I can, sort of say, hey, it's been 2 or 3 days and no one's replied. So I do make those phone calls. So other than that, thank you. I know I don't have much time today, but very nice to meet you and Paul, and I look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Jessica?
Hi, I'm Jessica. I just wanted to, I understand that there's gonna be new questions in the ballot for this year, and just wondering what provoked these new changes, or if you can kind of summarize it a little bit.
So I don't handle that, right? So what I would say is that if collectively, if you do want to ask that particular question, just send me an email so I can find out who will be able to answer that for you. Okay? Any other questions? All right.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go on to item number 15, elected officials report. We'll start with Senator Gustavo Rivera.
Where do you want me to do it from?
Anyway, wherever you feel comfortable.
She has her hand up.
Councilmember Sanchez will get.
There you go. All right, I'll just do it from right here. It's not a problem. Good evening to everybody. I will try to stick to that 3 minutes as closely as I can. I know you're not gonna, but I just like the fact that you do that music thing at the end. I just like that. So a couple of things. First of all, certainly thank you to all the folks who are serving. The new members, welcome. As far as the discussion of the city bike stuff, we should definitely keep our office in the loop. There's been issues. I mean, first of all, I'm kind of biased in the end, kind of came here to city bike, been city biking all day today to not have to move my car, etc. But there have been instances in my district before where there's been issues with where they're placed, and we have acted as middlemen to make sure that they can be placed in places that make more sense to that particular part of the neighborhood. So please keep us in the loop and we'll do our best to be helpful. There's a whole host of services that my office offers that you should feel free to avail yourself of. We have immigration assistance that we work along with an organization called NIMIC. We have free housing assistance with West Bronx Housing and Research Center. So that both of those happen in my office at 2432 Grand Concourse, which is in the Poe building. We're doing a second annual public health and safety fair that is on September 23rd at Poe Park. That is in an effort to deal with some of the issues that are happening in Poe Park with public drug use. We bring some of the organizations that provide services to these folks to the park during the daytime so that community members can come up and interact with them and kind of see what it is that they do, how they do it, etc. So that is going to happen on September 23rd from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have a blood drive that we're doing in partnership with Fordham University coming up on October 29th. And then a couple of things that I just wanted to, we're also doing newsletters that are weekly newsletters from my office that tell you all the stuff that we're working on, community events, etc. And certainly when we get to the legislative session, all the legislative work that I'm doing. So these will remain around so you can kind of do the QR code there. One quick thing that I do want to talk about, I do want to touch on this. There was a report yesterday, not a report, so it was witnessed actually by one of my staffers of uniformed, well, not uniformed, but individuals with masks on, with jackets that said police. But after checking with NYPD, they told us that they had no action on the Grand Concourse at that time. So there were folks with masks, with police vests that said police on, actually stopping people randomly on the street and actually took away at least 4 folks that for what was witnessed. So we don't have any confirmation. We asked in the official capacity to the NYPD, as well as we reached out to DEA because there was supposedly somebody said that there might have been a DEA action. We have gotten no confirmation. But this is the type of thing that is, I would ask all of you to be aware that it's happening, and I will ask just for a couple of more seconds on this issue. That it is aware that it is happening. We know that it's happening in other parts of the country. Regardless how you feel about the current administration, I think that we can all agree that any official agent that is working in an official capacity of any law enforcement agency should identify themselves to the public. It should be made clear what these folks are doing, and certainly they have official capacity. But the fact is that some of these agencies are abusing their power and just straight up snatching people from corners, and it is happening all across the country. So a couple of things my office has produced these get to know your rights cards. They are both in Spanish and English, one side and the other. It's in color on one side and black and white on the other. It is meant as a quick reference to folks who might know what their rights are if they ever interact with these type of agencies. We've produced them, and we've done thousands of them. If you need them for yourself, for your organization, for your personal use, so you can distribute them to folks who need to know this type of stuff, please let us know. We've produced thousands of them and distributed them all over the place. I also personally use something called IceBlock. It is an app. It is a very simple app, and it just basically says that if you're witnessing something that you think might be something like this, just get on the app and put the address that you're at, and done. And then the report goes up online. If you have the app, you can then see that this is happening. And again, I repeat, I think it is important to recognize what this is, and that it is happening in our neighborhoods, in our backyards, and that we have a certain level of responsibility to inform public that this is meant as a scare tactic to, you know what the Supreme Court just decided just yesterday, even though they had decided earlier that race and other categories can't be used to determine if somebody can get access to a higher education institution. They said that if you have an accent or your skin color, what have you, can be used if you are a law enforcement agency. So that is what is happening right now. Just want to make sure that we're all aware of it, and that there's certain ways that we can fight back on. With that, I thank you for your indulgence in the extra time, Madam Chair, and certainly will remain for a little bit longer. Lastly but not least, Flavia Salazar, I believe that you know this amazing lady who is here at every meeting and will be, and certainly as part of my team, will always be accessible to all of you. Thank you.
She's always here, she's always giving good info. Thank you, Senator. Now, before that, I cut off, I didn't see Councilmember Sanchez had her hand up before we switched over.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Senator. I just wanted to answer the charter revision question, although I know Councilmember Dinowitz is going to talk about the substance. Also congratulations to the new folks. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that as well. So the city charter is the city's constitution, right? Amendments to the city charter can be done by the city council. That's what we do when we convene and we legislate. We amend the city charter, we amend the administrative code. However, if an amendment is to be considered that would curtail one of the branches of government's power, then that has to be decided by the voters. That has to be decided by referendum, right? So I can't I can introduce a bill tomorrow, but if it passes, it would be illegal. The council cannot pass, it would not be legal for the council to pass a bill that takes away the mayor's power. Similarly, the mayor cannot, the mayor's not a legislator, but the mayoralty also can't curtail the council's power, right? And so the way that we change the city's constitution, the city charter, when it comes to the question of curtailment or changing the balance of power between our government, right, or governance entities like the mayor and the council, is through a charter revision commission. Who can call a revision commission? the mayor and the city council. We can call. But if the mayor calls one, then it trumps the city council's one, and at least unless the Albany changes something. That's the way it works. And so, with the beautiful relationship that there has often been between this mayor and this city council has been adversarial. Whenever we have tried to convene a revision commission through the council, the mayor has bumped us. And so he did it last year. There were ballot items that, there were many issues around. And this year, there's also these questions that Mr. Merdler highlighted are questions that came through the revision commission. The revision commission is technically an independent entity. The mayor appoints people and then they become the commissioners and then they put questions on the ballot. And similarly, that's the way it works no matter what. And so I won't go into the detail, but this mayoral commission, a mayorally appointed commission, is tackling a couple of different things, but the main thing that they are saying that they're tackling is that it is difficult to build affordable housing in New York City, and therefore we need to rein in the council's power and change the balance of power so that it's easier for builders to build, that builders don't have to come to the city council for permission. They don't have to go through ULURP in so many instances. And so there is a fast track that there's 5 different questions. The first one creates a fast track for affordable housing developments. The second one simplifies review of modest housing and infrastructure projects. The third one creates an appeals board. It's a lot, and I won't go into all the details, but it changes the balance of power is what you need to know. And the fifth one is completely unrelated. It just changes municipal elections to be on even years so that you are voting for mayor, city council, and everybody else in the city at the same time that you're voting for mayor, for president and Senate and assembly and all of that. So on the housing questions, I will share that I have some issues with them. I submitted testimony, so I'm happy to share that with board members. And I know some of my colleagues have even more issues. And as you heard, Mr. Merdler has the deepest issues with these questions. But I just wanted to share that with you all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on with the agenda. We're almost at another presentation that Councilmember Dinowitz is going to present. I just want to finish off with section 15 of the elected officials report. Senator Jackson was online at one time. Right, I have an order here. I say this every month. You guys get the order, okay? I go from top to bottom. I'm doing the people who are present, and I'm asking if Senator Jackson is still online.
No.
Okay. Then we have present Assemblymember Dinowitz.
Okay, hello, everybody. Now that I know we have so much time to speak, I'm going to use every minute of it. Welcome back, everybody. It's a new year for all of you. It's good to be here. I'm just going to run through a laundry list of things. Many of you know that we've had a problem this week and last week with no electricity on Johnson Avenue and 235th Street for a lot of the stores. I'm happy to say those stores that were affected, which are on the south side, it's this block where Key Food is, or more importantly, where Leapman's is. I'm happy to report that for once, and I've never said this in my life, not only was it not Con Edison's fault, but they actually did a very good job addressing the issue, even though it was a long issue. And the reason why it took long, and I'm not trying to point fingers, the landlord. In my opinion, it was totally the responsibility of the landlord for what happened. Fortunately, it's over mostly. The store should be back tomorrow, so that's a very good thing. We are doing our shredding events. First one is this coming Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Johnson and 235th, right where the stores are that did not have electricity. Councilmember Dinowitz, Congressman Torres, and the borough president, Vanessa Gibson, and I are co-sponsoring this. Last time we did it over there, we got hundreds of people. You can't believe how many people say the stuff that they say. They do. I know I do. So people take advantage of it. And then in October on 19th, also on a Sunday, we're doing the same thing with the council member, the borough president, Congressman Espaillat, and I in front of my district office on Kingsbridge Avenue. That's Sunday, October 19th from 10 to 1. Bring all your stuff. Don't be shy. I don't embarrass people with all the ridiculous stuff that they say for 20 years or more. So each year, the state legislators, we are able to get, we used to call them member items, nice grants for the various community organizations in our district. And this year I got the usual stuff that we got. There's so many great groups, Riverville Neighborhood House, Marshall Montfort Community Center, so many other groups, but I was able to bring in bigger grants this year for some of the organizations. Once again, I was able to get $250,000 for our wonderful Kingsbridge Heights Community Center for them to use towards trying to deal with really with teenagers with violence issues, with guns, with gangs, with drugs, you name it, to try to not have that. And the Kingsbridge Heights Community Center has done an amazing job in that area, so it made a lot of sense to continue funding them. The $200,000 for the Riverdale Y, then going to do programs that are going to relate to try to bring the different communities together, especially now where there's so much strife going on among, for so many reasons. The Y is going to run a series of programs that are going to be meant to, instead of things that are divisive, things that bring people together. And a $200,000 grant to the elder abuse program at the Hebrew Home. They have probably one of the most innovative programs in the country on that. Last year, I think many of you know, I was able to get a $10 million grant for the amalgamated houses. They had incredible needs, particularly capital needs. And the $10 million, which is a huge amount of money, it's actually kind of a drop in the bucket given the needs that they have. And we're still trying to help them further. But this year, we also put in the budget $1 million for another housing development. I'm not going to say which one yet because I haven't told them yet. But in our community, and again, it's really very important. A lot of the Mitchell Lamas and other developments are really struggling right now, and we have to do everything we can to help them in any way that we can. Quickly, the governor will have on her desk at some point between now and the end of the year a bill which I passed before, which she has vetoed before, which would create a state office for the utility consumer advocate that over 40 other states have, but we don't. And I know that since the governor is so committed, as I know she is, to addressing the high costs of living, that maybe this year she'll sign the bill, because if this office is created, it will save utility consumers, residential utility consumers, a lot of money, as it has in other states. States around the country have saved billions of dollars for their utility consumers, so this will be a great thing. And I just wanted to say that despite what that guy said about trying to end mail-in ballots, which it seems to me includes absentee ballots, that's not going to happen. He's a lunatic, in my opinion. We're going to continue to have mail-in ballots, and we can talk about it another time, but this so-called big, ugly bill that they passed, which is going to have a dramatic impact on all of our communities, whether it's on healthcare, food stamps, or any one of a number of other programs. I believe the state legislature is going to work diligently next year to try to mitigate as much of the pain that might be caused by this horrible thing as possible. I'll end there because I heard the music. In fact, I think I heard it twice. But then Happy New Year to everybody.
Quick question, what is the status of the medical aid in dying legislation that passed both houses of the state legislature? It's supposed to be on the governor's desk, but I'm confused about how long she has to veto.
Well, I was a strong supporter of the bill. It's a great bill, and she has until the end of the year to, we don't send the bill down to the governor until she asks for it, because they have a amount or to veto it. So it doesn't go to the governor until she's ready to do something. Very often, what'll happen is that they'll negotiate some changes to the bill, but basically we have until the end of the year. The calendar year. Okay.
Jeff, let me ask you a question. What is the status of your bill on requiring masks for people to unmask?
Right,
One thing, because that would help the senator deal with the problem that he spoke to.
it absolutely would. So the bill that I put forth,
Be able to enforce it.
the bill that I put forth this year addressed the issue of what we call mass harassment. It would kind of rest the law that we had before it was due to the pandemic. Great, Mike. For years, in fact, probably for 100 years, we had a law on the books. And for many of us, it was to address the issue of we don't want people, wearing white hoods, harassing people and doing, worse things than that. But that law was repealed. So we put in the bill, we're still in, I guess it was this year, maybe it was last year. It was last year. To deal with that issue where people who are engaging in bad behavior, I'll call it, like harassing people, threatening people, stuff like that. It was not, do what?
You mean ICE agents?
Well, it certainly would apply to ICE agents. The bill does not say everybody except ICE agents. The bill deals with everybody. There is a standalone bill that I just either with ICE agents or with law enforcement. I mean, it's an important issue. First of all, people in law enforcement should not be wearing masks, period, especially if they're doing bad things. But nobody should be wearing a mask unless there's a valid medical reason or for religious purposes, because some people do cover their entire face for religious purposes. But other than that, so in the budget this year, the governor in her executive budget put forth my bill, but there was opposition, there was division on it because some people were afraid that would be an excuse for police for themselves to be harassing other people. So there was concern. We did pass in the budget a very limited bill, which essentially said, if you're wearing a mask while committing a crime or fleeing from a crime, then you can be charged with an additional offense. That is the law. And the additional offense is a Class B misdemeanor, which is not the most severe offense that you can imagine.
So thank you. I know Jessica and then Bob, I just want to say this, it's 10 to 9 and Councilmember Dinowitz has a presentation. He has a very quick one. And I have 3 reps who get 1 minute each and we have to be out of here at 9:30. So Jessica, please be quick. Bob, please be quick. And then we have 2 reps. And then Emily and Councilmember Dinowitz. So by 9 o'clock, the presentation should be starting. Thank you all. Jessica?
Thank you. Just want to ask Senator Rivera, before you leave, you mentioned about, you talked about masking and with Halloween around the corner, what's some advice that you can give regarding people falsifying themselves as law enforcement in the midst of Halloween? And what can someone do if they see someone kind of reacting that way? And then my second question is regarding the Real ID and enforcement of the Real ID. My mother, went to get her Real ID and then there was a mistake. They spelled her name with a Y instead of an I, and now she's concerned whether or not she's gonna be able to vote in November. Can we just get some information regarding like the Real ID, its enforcement on voting in the next elections, and advice regarding Halloween and people impersonating law enforcement?
On the first piece.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say if that's a lengthy, because it sounds kind of lengthy to me. If
Look,
email it to us and we'll disperse it because we have a presentation and I really want to move on.
be in touch with my, because I do have answers for both those.
Thank you, and we'll give it to everyone. Okay, good questions, but we're limited and we have to be out by a certain hour. Bob, you had a quick question?
I do, I don't have a mic, but I can speak very loudly. This is for the Assemblyman. I know you're a great proponent of vaccines. Are you, and I know that the governor recently took some executive action. Are you satisfied that we have enough protections in New York State, particularly for childhood vaccination? despite all the nonsense that's coming out of Washington.
Well, I will speak loud. The thing, I guess I do. The thing we need the most protection from is the president. Let's just start there. Because of the governor's executive order, which is, it runs for 30 days, she's gonna have to renew it 30 days at a time. People are going to have access to the COVID vaccine more easily than would be the case, but for the fact that, you know, the president, whatever. I can't say these things out loud in public, but you know what I mean. As far as childhood vaccines, the law in New York State is among the best in the country. As I think you know, was my legislation back in 2019 that eliminated the non-medical exemption, the religious exemption for the school vaccine requirements. Before my legislation became law, what was happening was it was a big business among the anti-vaxxers to help people get religious exemptions, people who wouldn't know where a church or a synagogue or a mosque is if you drove them inside it. It was big business. They were paying to be trained as to how to get the religious exemption. So a lot of people were not getting their kids vaccinated, and as a result, the vaccination rate was to the point where we would no longer have herd immunity, HERD, herd immunity. But once we passed the law, the vaccination rates went up by a few points in New York State. And so kids should be safe. And there's nothing that Trump or the RFK Jr. can do about that. They can't overturn it. They can't do anything.
Thank you. Jessica, we're gonna get that question over to Senator Gustavo. It just sounded like a little response, because I want you to get a full answer. And we'll send it to the board, and I understand that Senator Jackson is back online. Senator Jackson?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Senator Jackson, did you want to address the board?
I just came back from another meeting, but clearly I wanted to attend this meeting since it's a general meeting. I know Dario Quinsack, who is my Director of Operations, is here. So I'll get the rundown from him for sure, but I appreciate the fact that all of you are there this evening working, trying to make our communities better wherever we go.
Thank you, Senator. So we're going to finish off with the three reps. Each rep has 1 minute. Dario Quinsack. Okay. Joe McManus.
Hope this mic works. My name is Joseph McManus, representing Congressman Torres. If anybody has a federal issue, email me. My address is joseph.mcmanus@mail.house.gov. If you didn't catch that, the board has the information. You can get it from them. Any kind of issue, IRS, if you're a veteran, if you want to maybe get a child into a, like one of the academies, we may be able to help you. So again, joseph.mcmanus@mail.house.gov. Give me a detailed information, your address, your name, and a good contact. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have someone from the Bronx District Attorney's Office, Jeffrey Pena.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Pena, and I'm a Community Engagement Coordinator at the Bronx District Attorney's Office. We have a few events coming up. So first, we are hosting a Reentry Employment Resource Fair on Tuesday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at St. James Recreation Center on 2530 Jerome Avenue. We are going to have workshops on resume building, interview skills, and job readiness, as well as employers, educational opportunities, and DMV services. We are also having our 8th annual 5K Run, Walk, Roll to End Domestic Violence on Saturday, October 18th from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The event is rain or shine, so I hope it shines. Please join our office for a free event to raise awareness and prevent domestic violence. The race begins and ends on 161st Street between Grand Concourse, and Walton Avenue. Additionally, we have a mammogram bus right outside the office, October 22nd, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. The address is 198 East 161st Street, and I have emailed all the flyers to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have Rosie Mendez from the Public Advocate?
I'm asking her to unmute, but she's not.
That's all the website?
Oh, yep, she's unmuted now.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, everyone. The last month, the Public Advocate passed 2 bills in the Health Committee having to deal with training for hospital staff on culturally competent care and for the LGBT and TGNC communities. He has released 3 papers in the previous months, one on congestion pricing, one on lithium ion batteries and the fires that it's causing, and another one on birthing centers and maternal mortality. We have a few more reports that we're going to release in the upcoming months, and I could be reached at the office by email or phone. Email address is rmendez@advocate.nyc.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez. And that should be it for the section 15 for the elected officials. If any other elected officials are on the line, you can raise your hand. Just to clarify something for all the board members and the elected officials, I have an agenda. I kind of want to stick with my agenda for certain reasons, and I start from the top to the bottom. If you're here, I'm going to call on you first according to my agenda. I don't need to slide anyone, but I like to keep the meeting going and have a fair meeting. You know, I try to be as fair as I can, and I want Councilmember Dinowitz to be able to have time to have his presentation. So the next item, old business. Is there any old business? New business, we have Emily with a quick presentation. I know I saw her walk in. Yes, this board member Emily Hausman. Were you going to speak on your entry? And she will be quick, because she always says she'll be quick.
It's gotta use a mic.
No, I can sit. Can I sit?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just finished back to school night. I didn't think I was gonna make it on time. Okay, so with the introduction of term. Yeah. You good, Bob? Okay. With the introduction of term limits, we wanted to prepare ourselves. So we wanted to introduce the idea of a mentoring program with a few goals in mind. We know that the community board plays a vital role in every New York City neighborhood. So we introduced this mentor program with a few goals in mind. 1, retaining and transferring knowledge, creating an inclusive culture, and cultivating leadership. So at the new board member orientation, we asked board members who've served for a long time and new board members both to fill out forms to collect information about them with the plan of matching up mentors and mentees, and then designing a program throughout the year that would cultivate relationships and help transfer knowledge in order to help transition those who were term limiting out, and help those joining the board to transition into leadership roles. So for those who have not yet filled out forms, Farah has both paper versions, and we also have Google forms that we're ready to fill out, and we're asking people to fill them out before the next board meeting so that we can sit down and make those matches. I also do dating matches too. No, I'm kidding.
Thank you, Emily, for presenting. Does anyone have any questions for Emily? Thank you, Emily. Okay, so now we're coming to the charter revision proposal on ballot 2025, a presentation by Councilmember Eric Zinowitz, the New York City Council Land Use Team.
Yes, that's loud. Thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, welcome new members. You chose seats in the back of the class. I don't know why, but welcome. And to the longstanding members, welcome. It's great to be at the first meeting at CB8. Quick update for the community. I know Sylvia said it earlier, but I'm really excited because if you haven't heard, at the Kingsbridge Library, we now have 7-day service. This is huge. You know, the city council speaker, Adrian Adams, and me, I sit on the budget team. We got $2 million allocated for Sunday service, and I fought very hard to make sure this community had one of those branches open on Sunday. And you know, I think it's the right thing to do to fight for my community, but it also makes sense. The Kingsbridge branch is one of the most visited branches in the entire Bronx. So you can now go on Sunday for whatever you do at the library, you can go. And I want to thank Laura Levine Pinedo, who was there with KRVC and whose organization helped out. Miriam from the board was also there. Joe McManus from Richie Torres' office. Assemblyman Dinowitz was there as well. City Bike, we did a tour a couple weeks ago with some of the locations in North Riverdale. Laura, Julie, Farah, a number of other members of the board and the DOT were there to point out locations where we could say we want City Bike and you can also put it on the sidewalk. DOT told us, I don't know what their result's going to be, but they told us they would look at those sites to make sure they match their guidelines. It's just outside of CB8, but I'm really excited about the elevator at the Mosholu Parkway 4 train. And the reason I am is because 7 years ago, I and a local community member brought a coalition of elected business community leaders together, got thousands of signatures, testified at MTA meetings, and the fruits of that labor has come to fruition. We celebrated the opening of that ADA compliance just last week, I think. I wanted to be very quick with that because we have Paris Strotter from the City Council Land Use Team. And I want to thank him, one, of course, for staying on extra, 37 minutes, but also for the incredible amount of work the land use team does leading up to this choice that we as a community are going to have to make, that New York City voters are going to have to make. And as it relates to this board, and as it relates to your elected representatives and your voice in the community, there is going to be no bigger decision as it relates to land use decisions as the vote you cast this November on the ballot proposals. So if Paris from the land use team can share his screen, we have a brief presentation. I'm going to go through the presentation, which outlines a little bit of what the current land use procedure is, what the 3 proposals will do. And I encourage you to take a couple of notes because at the end, we're going to do all of the questions at the end of the presentation. So I think we can go into present mode, right, Paris?
Yes, it looks different than it did just yesterday. So I'm trying, just bear with me a second. Oh, here it is.
And I also want to thank the board for inviting us to come here to present this. This is the first time, I think, in the city we're giving a presentation like this. So in addition to your questions, your feedback is going to be really important. So the presentation tonight, there are 6 questions on the ballot, but this pertains to questions 2 through 4, which are the land use decisions. So we're going to recap land use today, how it works, and the Mayor Adams's proposal. So we can go to slide 3, Paris. Now, zoning, especially for new members, zoning just relates to what you can use, what you can build, how big you can build it, and what you can use it for. So it'll say a residential building that can go for a single family home, 12 stories, things like that, how big it can be. And there's 2 types that we typically deal with as board. One we know is as of right. When you see an excavator come into the community and start digging and building, That's called as of right. That means the developer does not need to come to the board or come to a community, tell you guys what they're gonna do, ask permission, they just do it. And so one example, we have a rendering of it here. One example of that is the visitation site. That's in an R7. They're building 300 somewhat units of, I'm gonna put in quotation, affordable housing. We'll get to that in a sec. But they were just able to build that. And we as a community did not have any, real leverage to say what we wanted to see in the development. Then there's the ULURP. And that's where all of you come in. That's where the borough president, that's where particularly the city council comes in. Where a developer will develop a project in pre-ULURP, and then they'll start the clock. They'll start the clock that takes 5 to 7 months. And they'll present the proposal to the Department of City Planning, and then to the community board, then the borough president, then the city planning commission, and finally, we vote on that in the city council. And what this vote does is it gives you a little more leverage, and it gives the council more leverage to say what a community may want. So, for example, a few years ago, they passed the Gowanus rezoning. And this was a back and forth. They did some of this in collaboration with the Department of City Planning, but they got over 8,000 new units of housing built. There was infrastructure there was investment in infrastructure, in tenant protections. There was $200 million of capital investment to rehabilitate the local NYCHA. These were some of the things that were negotiated because of the ULURP process and because it had to go through a vote of the council. Another example that just happened recently was the Hudson Rail Yards, where they removed, as part of the negotiations, the casino proposal. They got 300 additional units of housing. There was additional green space that they negotiated. These are examples of what the council negotiated closer to home. I think anyone who's been on the board is familiar with 5602 and 5604 Broadway, where the developer came and said, build here, we want to rezone it. And in order to rezone, they had to go currently through a vote of the council. And when they met with me before the ULURP clock started, I said to them, you know what's really important to the community? And because it's important to all of you, it's important to me. Family-sized apartments, parking, green infrastructure. And that is exactly what we got. On tomorrow, I will be voting in favor of the land use change for this proposal that gives us slightly over 50% 2- and 3-bedroom apartments for 288, what I consider making $37,000 up to $120-something thousand, and 188 parking spaces. That's the process now. We as a community made our voices heard. It's voting in the council. Now, there are 3 ballot questions that come before you in November. You have to flip your ballot. And I'm going to present them as objectively as possible. The ostensible goal, according to the administration, is to make it easier for developers to build what they want and where they want it. And this would shift most of the decision-making away from the boards and away from the council to the New York City, the Board of Standards and Appeals and the City Planning Commission. And this would significantly alter or remove the ULURP. And so we'll start with question 2. This is what's called the Fast Track Affordable Housing, to build more affordable housing across the city. And this is broken into 2 parts. Now, 2A says that so we'll go to the next slide. And it'll say the BSA, Fast Track for Rezonings with Affordable Housing. And I just want to define this because affordable housing is something that often comes across this board. It comes across the city. It's based on area median income, which includes areas of Westchester, includes Riverdale, includes all other parts of the city. Any proposed rezoning receiving subsidy for affordable units qualifies for the fast track. Not all of the units in the building need to be affordable. And the affordable is not related to the neighborhood need, as has been discussed at this board. It is related to whether the development is receiving public subsidy. In this process, the Board of Standards and Appeals approves rezonings and the development. And for the BSA, the members are appointed by the mayor. The community board in this process can still comment, but there was no vote at the city council. The BSA, the mayoral appointed BSA, has the ultimate say-so. So in comparison to some of the other projects that I highlighted, the affordability, unit size, parking, green infrastructure, whether it's union labor, that's going to be decided by the Board of Standards and Appeals, not necessarily by not by a council vote. The second part of the question, I will say I'm going to kind of gloss over it because it doesn't apply to this board, but it says if you are in the bottom 20%, if you are in the 12 community board districts that have produced the least housing in the past 5-year period, there is also a process for kind of going past this ULURP process. So you'll see we're not on the map of the lowest of the community districts that produce the least affordable housing. But in 20 years, 25 years, we could be. And this would fast track the affordable housing. In this case, the City Planning Commission would approve the rezonings. The City Planning Commission is a 13-member body, the majority of which, including the chair, is appointed by the mayor. So it's another mayoral controlled body. In this process, community board and borough president still can comment, but no vote at the city council. What makes this different than the previous one is this is for housing, not housing with subsidies. This applies to, or can apply to market rate housing. And the definition of the lowest producing community board districts is just that. It excludes any other information that may be relevant, like market conditions, access to transit and infrastructure. So a yes vote on this means you think that fast tracking this, like kind of taking the council and in some ways the community board or overlapping community board with the borough president is a good way to build more housing, build it more quickly. A no vote says that you want to keep the ULURP process intact and continue to have city council leverage. These are just examples of buildings that could become more common. These exist, I think, under this process. Take a breath. We're gonna have questions at the end, but that's question 2. And again, while I'm just breathing, I want to thank you all because these are very dense, and these are what New Yorkers, all of us, are going to be voting on in just a few short weeks. So I want to thank you for being here and listening. Question 3, expedited land use review procedure. They want to simplify review of what they call modest housing and infrastructure projects. So I want to explain what is defined as modest housing and infrastructure projects. So first, in this process, the City Planning Commission, again, is a majority selected by the mayor. They would be having the final say-so over any of these decisions. If we could just go to the next slide, Paris, please. Thank you. And again, this wouldn't have a vote at the city council level. This would or could effectively eliminate single and 2-family housing districts or houses in New York City. All 1 and 2 family areas are eligible for these multifamily buildings. So what they consider low density residential districts, R1 through 5, would be eligible to build 4-story houses through this ELURP procedure. They are calling this modest increases. For more dense, so this is an example, a picture. This is currently an R2. Under this ELURP, the process for approving these zoning changes would be much quicker, and there would be no vote in the city council. It would be, again, a mayoral appointed board. For higher density districts, R6 through R8, the increase could be up to 30% additional above what zoning allows through this ELRP rezoning process. That's a lot. Okay, so a voting of yes on this would say you agree. You think, look, we need to build a lot more housing, cool, let's do it by essentially eliminating the single and two family zoning, building apartment buildings there, and allowing this ELO process to build 30% more housing. The last housing proposal, it deals with an appeals board. It would create an affordable housing appeals board with council, borough, and citywide representation. So as I went in the beginning, right now, a developer comes to a community and would negotiate with the council member because ultimately there's zoning change. They want to build bigger, more housing. We want that too. They negotiate with the local community, all of you and the council member. This changes or could change who, if anyone, does those negotiations. So if you go to the next slide, please. The appeals board is made up of the speaker, the borough president, and the mayor. And what it says is that whatever work a community board does to negotiate changes to an original proposal, and whatever vote the council takes can be appealed by this 3-member board. So you could lead to a situation where, maybe you're a developer, you just want to negotiate with the mayor and the borough president, or the mayor and the speaker. The mayor, him or herself, can file an appeal. It doesn't have to be the applicant. And local concerns like community investment will be left up to the appeals board, not necessarily the local community that has done that work to negotiate. And this would certainly change the balance of the ULURP between citywide and local concerns. The local council members probably have a different perspective on the local community and development than a borough president or a mayor or a speaker would. The appeal process, there is no public hearing requirement when the appeals board considers an appeal. So another example, we just passed the Atlantic Avenue rezoning. I know it's in Brooklyn, but this was a big one where the local council members, there were 2 of them there, set the local priorities, and they said, look, this is what's important to us. We want a certain number of affordable apartments. They got 1,900 units. There was a $115 million investment in this redesign for what they said was a dangerous street, and $100 million for upgrades to parks and open spaces, and they got some tenant and homeowner protections. That was investments the community got. Now on the other side, a mayor and a borough president and a speaker and appeal, they say, that's too expensive, it's too much, we don't want to do that, it's costing too much money, we just can't do that. So if you are a person who says, you know what, all of these things, all of these investments in the community are just costing too much money, then this is, and the council is causing problems, the local council members are causing problems when it comes to housing negotiations, then you should vote yes. And if you think having more local input and having things, a final binding vote by the council for investments in the local community are important, then you should vote no on these proposals. I think I kind of give you a very brief summary of those 3. What I want to do is just put the last slide up, or without the appendix. The 3 questions are kind of small, but what I want to do now is open the floor for questions. And again, I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen, really being engaged in this. And of course, the land use team, who spent an incredible amount of time researching this, putting these materials together. And they're going out to communities just like ours to make sure just people know about these proposals and what yes and no votes mean. So with that, I want to open the floor for questions. If I can't answer them, I'm sure the land use team can. Mr. Murdler.
Where in the charter revision proposals is there a depth? They're all about affordable housing, these, right? So, and where in the proposals is the affordable housing term defined?
So These are, I want to be clear on two things. One about affordability, and and this is what Paris and I kind of went over in terms of the language. The charter revision uses the terms affordable, but we're using the term subsidized because, as this board recognizes, sometimes things that are labeled as affordable may not be affordable, but if they receive government subsidy, they are defined as being affordable. But I also want to be clear that not all of these proposals deal with affordable housing. Some of them deal with market rate housing. And the idea being, well, we should just make it easier to build more and more and more housing, and that will help. Well, look, look, this is a difficult conversation we had City of Yes. Some might argue, I would, that when you negotiate with a developer and they have to provide deep affordability, that is a way to secure affordability. Others would argue, well, if we just build and build and build, eventually the prices of housing will go down. I think I answered both your questions. Yes, Deb.
Private. I hate to say it, once upon a time, I paid state tax once, but when you eliminate that tax base, would that affect money that's going to schools, libraries, fixing the roads, when you eliminate and you're making it subsidized housing, you eliminate like the tax base?
Paris, I'm not,
Paying real estate taxes anymore.
Paris, I don't know if you want to tackle that about the taxes, because I'm less familiar with the tax structure.
Could you just repeat the question? It was
The
hard to
question,
hear.
if you're eliminating houses and 1 and 2 family homeowners houses, how would that impact the tax base, the taxes that go to our schools and our roads and our cops and everything?
It's a very complicated question. I think that it's probably worth a follow-up. Essentially, if you're, multifamily buildings, although on a per unit basis, they're paying a lot less than homeowners usually. They're paying more in property tax. However, a lot of the multifamily buildings are tax abated. So I don't want to say one way or the other, but I think it's very complicated.
So I think that's actually, it's a really good question. I think one that, when we're in our land use bubble, we don't think of. That's what I think we'll have to kind of see if we could do some research on, because I don't know. And we'll just, yes, Debbie.
Falling apart, there's floods in different parts of our community and sewage overflow. Is there any consideration of working on that basic infrastructure instead of just putting a big old apartment building and you have all that impacting the quality of life? Because eventually it's gonna happen, that flooding that out issue.
Yeah, so the administration has kind of made this perspective, I think, very clear. They think, I don't think it's an exaggeration or an insult. They think the answer to everything is zoning changes. If you just change the zoning, things will become more affordable, everything will fall into place. The city council has disagreed with that. And the example is City of Yes, where despite my no, I think the council actually did a very good job clawing back some of the, more egregious elements of City of Yes, but also secured $5 billion of infrastructure investment. $1 billion of that came from the state. So the city council recognizes, I recognize, the speaker recognizes everything you just said, which is it's not just about zoning and the number of people, there's sewage and transit and all that. I don't think that this proposal does anything except deal with zoning and the way the city is structured and the power structure in the city. I think it's one of the questions we have. The great example is the recent ULURP that I'm going to be voting on tomorrow. When the developer came, I said, the Deegan floods all the time, right? You're right near this flood zone. So you have to bolster up your green infrastructure and your resiliency. And that was a conversation we were able to have. It wouldn't have necessarily come up if not for that local community input. Thank you. Yes, Bob. You've been hogging that mic all night.
Sitting here and have to put it to use. Clearly, what happens here is that power is consolidated into a much smaller group of people.
the mayor, the council president, and whom I forget, the borough president. But also the Board of Standards and Appeals gets more power on if all of this is passed. I'm murky on the Board of Standards and Appeals. Who appoints those members and how do they relate to the mayor and the borough president?
Paris will interrupt me if I'm wrong. I believe every member of the BSA is the mayor.
Yes.
Sorry?
Every member is appointed by the mayor.
Okay, so obviously now the mayor is king. He's the big winner in all of this. He has tremendous control over the whole land use process under these proposals if they're passed.
That seems to be accurate. I think that's fair that the mayor would have significant control under any and all of these proposals, because whether it's the BSA or the City Planning Commission, BSA is all the mayor and the CPC is majority mayor. 7 of the 13, including the chair. So yes, very, very fair to say. Yes, Joe.
Statement you're making, and it's easy to say, we shouldn't put all the power in the mayor's hands or whatever, but my concern is about housing. So what proposals or alternatives or communications has the council done about what the alternative to this is?
Glad you asked that. So the question was, well, the question's about housing. What has the council done? The council, I think, in the past 4 years has built more like units of housing than any council in years past. And not only that, we've made more investments in infrastructure. So the numbers don't lie. We've just approved more ULURPs and more housing than at any other time.
150,000 units.
150,000 units. Thanks, Paris.
But also to answer your question about, because I think the second part is what more can we do, right, than we're already doing? The best way to build housing is through neighborhood rezonings, like the Gowanus, like Atlantic Avenue. That's not what these proposals are about. They're not proposing to increase the capacity of the administration to do more rezonings. And there's neighborhoods that don't want rezoning, and that's great. There's neighborhoods that want rezoning, and you go to the Department of City Planning and they say, nope, we don't have capacity. But that's the best way to build housing, and that's not just this city, that's cities across the country.
Just one example of that, it's not in CBA, it's CB12, but it's my district, is Kevin Riley helped negotiated a neighborhood rezoning on White Plains Road in Wakefield. And he is taking great pains to ensure the community is involved in redeveloping that area. That's kind of like a comprehensive approach to the neighborhood, to really hear from the neighborhood what we need in terms of housing and business. And again, the city can't 150,000 units in this council, $5 billion in the city of Yes, not to mention legislation that I've passed for Mitchell Lamas, the work my office does with West Bronx housing, the laws we've passed for voucher reform, things like that. But whether it's building housing or supporting the housing that already exists, we've done a significant amount in this council. And again, there is a view that the only impediment to housing affordability is zoning. I personally disagree with that. Yes, Chuck. Oh, sorry. Let's finish with Jill.
Let me just make sure my question is clear. Because while I appreciate what you said, I think that my question is, or maybe my suggestion is that in making these presentations, since we are early in this process of submitting or putting out this presentation, is that you communicate that to people, because a person may think, well, we don't do this, we won't have enough housing.
Yeah.
So it's more of a suggestion, I think, than a question. When I say proposals, I mean, what are you doing to communicate what you just read?
And I do appreciate that, because this is the first time we're doing the presentation. And so your feedback is really welcome. And we're certainly going to implement any feedback. If you want to email me after or tell me now, really appreciate the feedback. Chuck, you wanted?
I just want to
Now I'm wearing my hat as a member of the New York City Housing Development Corporation, which funds most of the affordable housing in New York. Get the city of New York, not the city of New York. I want you to put in the middle of every housing project in the city of New York. The city of New York wanted to build stuff. The green space that you see in the housing authority projects, you're gonna build a stall. City council representatives have called us. I opposed it publicly in the committee. We have been able to stop it in every borough other than Brooklyn. And one got through when I was not present at the meeting in the Bronx. I will never support one.
See, attendance is important, Chuck. Don't be absent. Should have been like me and get an attendance award in school. It was great. He's here, so I could tell him. And I'm like, Dad, I'm not feeling well. He's like, well, go to school. And like, if you're still not feeling well by 2, 3 o'clock, give me a call. Yeah, Jessica.
My question is like, what is the plan to, as some of these proposals get approved for housing, like what is the response, or just like for every modest housing that gets passed, like that we're gonna build X amount of schools, X amount of commercial, like what is the balance, like,
There isn't. So when there's modest increases and
Thank you.
and Paris, just add to this if I miss anything, please. When there's modest, quote unquote, modest increases in housing, big enough that this particular project would require more school seats. Paris, did you want to add to that,
Well,
please?
and that's why I mean that issue's on the ballot in my opinion. Basically, through environmental review, it's really difficult to require that every small project or even moderate sized projects contribute to schools or contribute to infrastructure. So that it doesn't often appear as a requirement. And but through city council negotiation, oftentimes some of those investments are added. And I think a question, is will that happen if City Planning Commission or the BSA is approving? And in my experience, it will not happen if they're the approvers.
so that's hospitals, schools, that's everything everybody needs to live and survive in this city. Probably nothing.
I would say accurate, but I would also think kind of what Paris related before, which is that's probably where like a neighborhood rezoning would come in, where you really want the neighborhood coming together comprehensively to say, look, like, yeah, let's do more housing, but let's also do more schools or do investments in a hospital or a street redesign, tenant, like whatever it is. And that's, in my view, what I have found the value of the ULURP and the city council vote to be. Like when you have the local representative with the leverage to say, look, this project, we want this project to go forward, but only if the community is on board. And these proposals shift the power to the mayor and the developer. And look, some people may want that. There are groups that want that. Like obviously people on the Charter Commission want that. Other people like that the city council and the local community have leverage in this ULURP, in the ULURP. Laura, I saw your hand up.
Read yesterday that the city council sent a letter to the Board of Elections regarding the vague language and the lack of clarity and asked that this be removed from the ballot.
Yeah.
Is there any change?
So I'll just rewind to explain what happened. The Charter Revision Commission proposed these 3 questions, which were up there. They're public. We're happy to share them. I didn't read them out loud. That's like reading a proclamation out loud. I wouldn't do it. But what the city council said is exactly that. The city council said, look, the language is very vague. It doesn't actually say all of the things that this is going to do. It doesn't explain in the question everything I explained to you tonight. So the city council said these shouldn't be on the ballot because they are misleading. The Board of Elections votes to certify the language that's on the ballot. That vote happened today. And the Board of Elections certified that the language will be on the ballot. So these questions will appear as is on the ballot, which is why, again, your participation, your taking notes is also very important, and also telling your friends how you feel and telling and educating your friends. And this is not the first, sorry, this is not the last, this is the first. This is not the last kind of public forum or explanation we'll have on these proposals.
All right, one
Yeah.
last thing. I mean, this board wrote mountains of paperwork on objections to City of Yes. And this is City of Yes on steroids. What I'd like to know is this presentation on our will it be on a website? Is it available?
This one's not. This is one that the land use team and I were working on. It is not public yet. And there will be public documents, like very soon, don't worry, there'll be public documents. There is one thing I left out. I didn't mean to speed over it. It was in question number 3, I think, in the ELERP process. It also applies to special permits, The Hebrew home. The Hebrew was a variances, I think variances in special, that was a special permit, right? Thank you so much. I was on the board for that. It was a few years ago. For those of you who weren't here or don't remember, the Hebrew home had a proposal for a building, and there was a lot of difficult but good conversations with the community and community members. And in my view, those conversations, as difficult and important as they were, happened because eventually this had to go before a vote of the city council. The ELERP process would apply to special permits as well. I see Steve Fruit.
Very, very. quick.
Yeah.
Can the city council sue in court under Article 86 or something to challenge the Board of Elections decision if the language is so vague as to just be misleading the public, or that's where it stops at the Board?
I don't think so. I think it stops at the Board of Elections. But if that answer is wrong, I will come back to you and say, I am so sorry. I was wrong. But I don't think I am.
Authorized to do the ban.
Okay. No, I don't think we can. Yeah, Jessica.
My question's regarding how do you decide who develops in New York City? Is it people that have already built in New York City, like developers that are from here? Is it people from out of state? Is it people from another country? And are they hiring contractors from New York City? Are we, how do we make sure that we're employing our own residents to be a part of this economic and this development boom?
So this will be the last question. Okay, this will be the last answer I give. For as of right development, there is no requirement, to my knowledge, of any labor, anything. That's my understanding. For ULERP, that can be negotiated. So for example, in the East Bronx, the Bruckner rezoning, one of the things that the local council member there negotiated was that it would be built with union labor, and that union labor would be local. That's just one example. So the ULERP does allow that leverage to include union labor or fair wages labor for local hiring, and I think the as of right doesn't.
I apologize. Mr. Paris, thank you very much for hanging in there and giving us that.
We give Bill Paris and the land use team like a really big round of applause.
Board members, I just want to advise you that on Thursday, October 30th, our meeting date in October has been changed due to the holidays. At 6, can I have everybody's attention just for 2 more minutes, please? On Thursday, October 30th at 6:30, we're having a public hearing with the budget for 2027, and following thereafter at 7 p.m. starts the board meeting. And new members, I apologize. I really wanted to give you a chance to say something. I will put you on the agenda for next month, and you'll have 2 minutes if you want to say something, because next month we'll try to do prayer. And that's it. Anyone make a motion? Thank you. Good night, everybody.